Welcome back to Getting Strange with Stephanie Strange. I am your host, Stephanie Strange. So we're going to be reading a reader submission story, strange phenomenon like Mothman, UFO sightings, and how that can be connected with spiritual experiences. So buckle up. Now, before I get into all of this good stuff on this podcast, I wanted to catch up with you guys on what happened this last week because there are a couple of notes that I wanted to touch base with you on. So if you follow me on Instagram and my other social media like TikTok and so on, you probably noticed that I've been posting a lot about Beetlejuice. And honestly, I hope you're not tired of this because I absolutely loved the movie. So can we take a moment here to talk about the thoughts that I had on the movie? And it's not going to be there are not going to be any spoilers on here, so do not worry about that. But I do think that going into this film, I was really excited because I love Beetlejuice. I really do. I love the quirkiness, the visual design that the movie had in the original. I even loved the animations. So when they were finally making this second film, I was so excited just to see that world again and see where Lydia is at currently in her life. Because when I watched the film, I did resonate as a kid being strange and quirky and feeling like no matter where I moved to, because I went to so many different schools as a kid, no matter what schools I went to, how many times I was bullied, I just felt like I was never belonged. And I always felt like, okay, when I'm going to catch a break? And movies like Beetlejuice and characters like Lydia Dietz is something that I deeply resonated with. So now as an adult who talks about the paranormal, who talks about the strange, and even consumes paranormal, strange content, I really wanted to see Lydia Dietz as an adult and kind of gain that perspective. And watching this film, it just, part of me felt like my childhood was being soothed, right? Like we were visiting something that we grew up watching and knowing and loved, and now we're seeing it again as adults, and we're seeing it with a fresh pair of eyes, and we're seeing this world expand. And so I think that was beautiful, right? Like the same actors and actresses were reprising their roles in the second Beetlejuice sequel. Because a lot of the times when we see these films have a sequel after so much time, sometimes they do replace actors and actresses. And I think they did a really good job with handling all of the characters and even adding on new characters with such care. But I also think on the same side, and this could be like a double-edged sword, I think there were multiple plot lines within this film. And so for people that maybe like fast-paced films, you'll like it. But I think for other people that are really liking the way that films were written in the 90s, early 2000s, and really like character development, I don't think that this is going to be like a winning point for that type of viewer. But with that being said, I'm somebody that I love characters and I love character development, but I do understand the franchise and I do understand the way that these characters are. And so while yes, there were some things I'm like, man, I wish this was answered, or I wish this was answered, or I wish they would have taken a little bit more time on, I did still enjoy it. So keep that in mind when you watch the film. Now, if you do want me to do a review and you have watched the film, let me know because I would like to talk more about this film in further detail. Maybe that could be like a YouTube video. I don't know. But yeah, you let me know on that. I'm sure you noticed too that there were so many events regarding Beetlejuice. Like there was that immersive experience that happened here in Hollywood. And I had people in my comment section that were asking, is this free or is it still happening or where it's happening? Well, it's happening in Hollywood, California at the Ovation. It's over there by like where the Chinese theater is at. So it's literally next door to that. That's where they're having these events. And yes, you do have to pay to attend this. I believe the tickets are like $25 or more. There's different packages, but you should definitely like find them on Instagram, the Beetlejuice Experience, or just Google Beetlejuice Experience in Hollywood. And I'm sure it's going to be like the first link there. And I think Fiverr is right. Fiverr is how you say it. Fiverr is the company that is helping launch this. So again, you'll probably find a lot of information online with that. I did not pay for it because I got invited, and I also went after the screening. There was a screening on the 28th at the Chinese Theater, and then shortly after that, we walked over to the little after party thing, but it was fun. Each experience is very unique, by the way. Like I went there for the media night and then I went again um after the screening, and all both of those experiences were very unique. I had fun each time. So if you've been there and you want to go more than once and you're concerned if you would get bored, I would recommend you go if you want to go again. I'm not judging you. Have some spookiness in your life. Enjoy that. Do you know what I mean? So, aside from that immersive experience, I had a friend of mine, Matthew Torres, shout out to him. He invited me to Long Beach to hang out with the Shrinkers. And if you have seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. They're basically the Bobs. If you haven't seen the film, this recent one, but you have seen Beetlejuice, it's like the character with like the shrunken head. So we got to hang out with them. It was really fun. And after that, I had gone to visit the Queen Mary with my friend, which many of you know has a special place in my paranormal heart. I've shared some experiences on here before. There's a whole podcast I dedicated to my ghostly experience at the Queen Mary, so you may want to check that out. But I swear, every time I go to the Queen Mary, it's always an interesting and there's always a paranormal experience that I have. This is no ordinary picture. Want to take a guess what's going on here? Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I talk about the paranormal and strange, and I have a crazy story that happened to me at the Queen Mary. So let's rewind. My friend Shannon took me to the Queen Mary as her +1 at the 57 Ghost Theatrical Seance. Now, this was a really fun event, and you have to check it out if you go to the Queen Mary. This is our host. Now, when you head to the seance room, you have to pass by these stairs where people have met their demise. It is said that people have seen apparitions in this area. It's going to be very important as I continue the story. Now, as we were leaving the seance room, there was all of these really interesting objects, including this doll that this lady asked about that you just saw. So as we're leaving, the lady asks about this doll, and our host Rangel starts talking about it, but I saw something in this area, and I wasn't the only one that saw it. Brooke. I go by Brookie. And we were standing here, and the gentleman that was hosting the seance was talking about this haunted doll. And then over here, behind us, we saw this like an orb, right? It felt like a walk through the freaking door. Yeah. And I saw her turn to her friend. She was like talking to her. I'm like, wait, you saw that too? We saw like literally like an apparition, like a white orb go through that door. Like that's wild.
It's no joke. It's no joke.
Yeah. Oh, it's probably the light that's reflecting off the door. No, this looked like a person. Like it kind of looked like a head and some shoulders trying to walk through the door. The more I think about it, and I'm so happy I saw that, and someone else did too. And of course, this time around, it didn't disappoint. I remember that I had taken my friend Orlando to the seance room area. Shout out to them. You really need to go to that. It was so much fun. And afterwards is when I saw the ghostly apparition manifest outside of the seance room. So I took my friend over there. We went walking there. I had like my paranormal equipment, and no one was in the seance room. And there was this eerie music playing, and it gave me chills. It gave Orlando chills.
That jukebox? Is that a jukebox or no? What is it?
Yeah, I think it's playing by itself and no one's in there.
And I ended up messaging the magician who hosts these like theatrical seances on the Queen Mary ship. And he says that he leaves the music playing for the ghosts. Imagine that. Isn't that cool? I love how the Queen Mary has so many people that respect the paranormal, and they really embrace the paranormal aspects of it. I really do appreciate that about the people that work on the Queen Mary and the Queen Mary itself. I just feel like they all just really embrace it, and I appreciate that. It's a very special place. Well, actually, I would love to spend the night at the Queen Mary, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. We'll see what future plans has for me. We can only just speak manifestation. We're speaking manifestation to get on the Queen Mary and spend the night there, okay? Because then we could do like a podcast or something. That'd be kind of cool, right? So aside from that, while we were also walking around on the Queen Mary, we visited the old children's playroom area where they used to leave like the kids there, and like a nanny would babysit them while the adults would go off and do other things on the ship. And in that room, it's like a glass, right? Like you see it outside of the glass, you see how it was set up, you see the little plate or the little placard that has all the information that you would need to know about this room. And I brought along a polter script. Now, the polter script is up there and one of my favorite devices when I'm just doing a quick tour or walk around a haunted location and I just want to grab some activity on a device. Like that's one of my favorite go-tos. Now, if it's like a place where I have to myself and privacy and with like a private group, the Estes method is hands down one of my favorite methods. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically where you're being sensory deprived. You're wearing something over your eyes so you can't see anybody. You're wearing soundproof headphones where you can't hear anybody. All you can hear is the noise on the radio and it's being shuffled really fast. So the people that are not sensory deprived, they're asking questions and you as a person wearing the headphones and you're sensory deprived, you're just repeating what's on the radio. And people get really eerie results with that and spot on answers to the questions that are being asked. So just a quick thing on there. Now, I had the Polter script and it's like receiving a text from a ghost. It's quiet, there's words on there, and we started getting activity like almost right away. I'll plug the video here for you, but you can definitely watch it on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, wherever you like to watch short form videos. And it was fun. I really had so much fun. I would like to go back and see if I can talk to the children, the spirits, the children-like spirits on the ship. But, you know, I'm very curious to get your thoughts on it. What do you think it is? Like, genuinely, I'm very curious. I know everyone has different opinions on children, spirits, dolls, and so on. So, yeah, I want to get your thoughts on this. All right, so now that we're like caught up on the latest paranormal adventures that I had, let's get into today's spooky story. So this is from Holly A. I'm not going to say her last name. Thank you, Holly, for writing to me. And this is what she said.
Hi, Stephanie. I stumbled upon your podcast a while ago and I've been hooked on some of the episodes. I finally got the courage to share a story with you that's been weighing on my mind. It's a little bizarre, and I'm not sure if it's the right kind of story for your podcast, but here goes nothing. This experience left a huge impression on me, and I can't shake the feeling that something deeper, maybe even paranormal, is happening. And I can't shake the feeling that something deeper is going on, and maybe paranormal is happening here. A few months ago, I had a vivid dream, and in this dream, I found myself standing in what felt like a vast space. There were no walls, no horizon, just this infinite, floating platform. The ground beneath me was strange too. It was like coated with like black and white dots, but then it kind of like manifested into a checkerboard pattern. But this is not the weird part. Yes, I looked down on this floor and I could see how spotless it was and how hard the surface was. Like I could see my own reflection from it. It almost felt like it was either glass or marble. And I couldn't shake the feeling that something or somebody was watching me. As I looked around, it felt like I was suspended midair with nothing but this platform beneath me. The sky, if you can call it that, was dark, like pitch black. But then there were streaks of rainbow color lights moving through it, almost like the light at the end of the tunnel. It was this beautiful but unsettling feeling at the same time, like I was waiting for something to happen. Then things got even stranger. A figure emerged from somewhere and the energy around me shifted. I couldn't make out their face, but I could feel their presence. They stood over me and said, "We're going to do a little exercise with you, and at the end, no one will remember what happened." After that, the dream ended. And that's all I remember, but it felt like I had been there for hours. I woke up feeling very uneasy, like I experienced something important, but I couldn't recall what it was. At first, I brushed it off as a strange dream, but then things started happening in my house. I began waking up every night at 3 a.m., and I don't know if you've heard this before, but 3 a.m. is considered the witching hour, when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. The fact that I kept waking up at this time really freaked me out. Was something from my dream following me in the waking world, and that's why I kept waking up? I don't know. It also didn't stop there either. I started seeing shadows move around out of the corner of my eye, but when I turned around to look, there was nothing there. The temperature in my room would suddenly drop, I'd wake up freezing, and every time I tend to have these dreams, I notice that there's always this cold temperature in my room, again, despite the heater being on full blast. How strange is that? So I decided to do some research. I came across theories about vivid dreams being portals to other realms. Some believe that in these intense lifelike dreams, we're interacting with energies or entities from beyond our reality. So is that what could have happened? Was I part of some kind of experiment like the figure in my dream suggested? But then I read about Astral, the astral plane, the idea that when we dream, our soul or consciousness can leave our body and travel to other dimensions. Some people even suggested that spirits live in this plane when they're not haunting the physical world. So was I on the astral plane that night? Was it more than just a dream? Here's where things get even more unsettling. So a couple weeks after I had this dream, I talked to my neighbors, and it turns out I'm not the only one experiencing strange things. The old lady next door claims that she has been hearing voices in her attic, whispering her name at night. She thought she was imagining it until her cat started hissing running up the stairs and then refusing to go back downstairs. Another neighbor mentioned seeing lights flicker in her house, even though she has no electrical issue. So could I have woken up something more dormant in this area? Whatever it was in this dream seems to be creeping into reality, and not just for me, but for others around me too. Or maybe it's just a separate issue, I have no idea. So I can't shake the feeling that this is more than just a random dream. It felt real, like it was trying to tell me something, and now, with the strange occurrences happening around me, I'm left wondering if I stumbled into something far bigger than I realized. Stephanie, what do you think? Was it a dream? Could I have crossed paths with something paranormal? And is my house haunted now? Or worse, do I have just an attachment?
All right. Well, thank you, Holly, for sharing this story. And there's a lot to unpack here. Um, First, let's talk about dreams, especially vivid ones. So there's definitely the idea that people can astral project and have vivid dreams where they are traveling through different planes. My sister talks about how the movie Insidious scares her because it really deeply resonates with her life and how she definitely feels like she travels to different planes. And I've shared some of the dreams that she's had where she knows someone's going to die and then it has happened, right? This is something that she's had experiences with. Or she has had dreams where she's in someone's house. I think one that I might have shared, I think on YouTube or a live stream, was when I was house hunting and she happened to know exactly what that house looked like the house that we were going to put a bid on. And she dreamt that she was in this person's house and there was a man there and he was confused. And then later I found out that the reason why the house was being sold was because an older man had passed away and lived in that house by himself. Interesting, right? Eerie, right? So now I know that like there's premonition dreams, but there's also dreams like, now I know that that could be categorized as like a premonition dream, but also I want to point out that like the way that my sister describes traveling to people's houses or places where she doesn't recall what it is, but then gets confirmation that someone else knows what it is, that is a form, in my opinion, like traveling and traveling to different dimensions in dreams and picking up premonitions or seeing things, like remote viewing as an example, right? So I do think that there is this astral plane where you can travel and experience different stuff. And so many people believe that our consciousness can leave our bodies while we dream, wandering in other realms where spirits or other entities have existed. So this could explain the figure in the dream, and that's why you're feeling very unsettled because your intuition is telling you that there's more to it than that. Now, I'm only just giving you my perspective from just knowing what you gave me, but there could be so many other indicators on it, of course, like if you might have watched a scary movie, that could have played a role in it. If you are someone that's currently dealing with anxiety, that could be playing a part in having nightmares and feeling unsettled even in your dream. So it's really important to look at the physical plane, like, are you getting enough sleep? Are you having enough downtime? Are you taking care of yourself to alleviate yourself from stress, depression, and anxiety? Those are things that I always want to let people know to tackle first, and then take in what I have to say regarding the spiritual world and my belief system. So I just want to give that fair warning, right? I know we kind of dabble into a couple different things here. Now, the other thing you mentioned too was waking up at 3 a.m. And I know for a lot of people, a lot of people believe this is the witching hour. It's like the classic time for paranormal disturbances. And I get that. But I will say this, when it comes to paranormal experiences and hauntings in particular, like if you have a haunting in your home, hauntings don't just happen at 3 a.m. They can happen at any given time of the day. So I just want to say that real quick. I know that for some people, waking up at certain times of the day can be very significant. For me, it's not as significant. I can definitely feel that if you wake up at 3 a.m. and you are afraid of that time frame, it can manifest other scary things. So I can understand that. But I just want to say from my perspective, time isn't always a huge factor, but I can understand why you would think that and why it could be a concerning thing. The other thing you pointed out too was your neighbors experiencing strange phenomenon. Now, I do think that it is interesting that the old lady next door is experiencing strange things. And I would love to learn more about like how long has she been experiencing these things? Did it happen around the time that you had your strange dream or something like that? And also, like, I'm curious to know if she lives by herself or with other people. You know what I mean? Just more things to consider before me like clumping all of it together. But it is interesting that you have talked to other people about it. And it's fascinating because this makes me think of another infamous, spooky, strange phenomenon. So because this is a paranormal podcast and because you did submit your story and I gave you advice, I also like to link stories and experiences to other strange phenomenon. So we're going to go back into our time machine and we're going to go into another strange phenomenon. And this is the Mothman sightings. So for those of you who are not familiar, back in 1966, residents of Point Pleasant started seeing a mysterious creature with glowing red eyes. It all began when 5 gravediggers saw what they thought was a human figure fly out of a tree, and over the next few days, sightings of this creature later doubled down. So, one witness, Neil Partridge, saw 2 glowing red eyes over a field near his home, and when his German Shepherd chased after it, the dog was never seen again. Sightings continued until the collapse of the Silver Bridge River in 1967, which tragically killed 46 people. And immediately people began linking this to the sightings of the Mothman, and they thought that this was a omen for death. But what makes the story even more bizarre is the theory that the Mothman was not just a cryptid, but an extraterrestrial or some type of interdimensional being. So around the same time, a man named, I'm going to say his last name, Darren Berger, reported being stopped by a UFO on a nearby highway, and he claimed that the entity named Indrid Cold communicated with him telepathically, and later soon they would connect this individual to like the Grinning Man, which makes it that much more creepier. And then people started talking about UFO sightings more, and strange lights in the sky became more frequent, not to mention reports of paranormal activity in people's homes. Some even say that infamous men in black showed up in the area asking questions, though that's like not confirmed to me, but it's still creepy. What's fascinating to me is the connection between these types of experiences, like the idea that perhaps your dream could also not just be astral traveling through different planes astrally, but also could it be type of UFO phenomenon? Who knows, right? Like I'm just saying in a sense of like, oh my God, what if? But I don't think it's possible, but I would need more information. You know what I mean? Like I like to keep a level of healthy skepticism. I mean, many people do believe that vivid dreams, especially ones that feel incredibly real, might be glimpses into other realms. And so like to summarize everything, right? Like bringing it back to the dream. And I do dream interpretations, by the way. I can link my Calendarly if you'd like. Or you can go to my Instagram and click into my bio to get links for readings and dream interpretations. I mean, when I look into like what you're describing with your dream, to me, it feels like you are experiencing something spiritually, but I would love to, talk more and get more information, obviously. But regardless of this, going back into dreams, bringing it back to the topic, many people believe that vivid dreams, especially ones that feel incredibly real, might be glimpses into other realms, and definitely the astral plane where spirits and entities can reside. And so the question then gets asked, when we dream, are we leaving our bodies and crossing over to these alternate dimensions? Many people who also experience UFO sightings or paranormal encounters report similar feelings of anticipation, like they're being watched or tested, which is some of the elements that stuck out to me in your dream. This makes me think of more alien sightings and spiritual phenomenon of like the Betty and Barney Hill abduction case, where they described a feeling a sense of time distortion and vivid dreamlike states before their abduction, which is very interesting. And again, people believe that there is a connection between that and the spiritual realm. So could this dream have been an interaction with a non-human entity? I mean, that's something I just want everyone to just think about, right? Or was it just simply a dream where we were processing something in our reality? The fact that the neighbors are experiencing strange occurrences, voices, flickering lights, cold spots, like that is definitely interesting, right? I would love to, if it was me, I'd be like asking more questions, jotting things down. I also think, Holly, you could have been tapping into something larger like a dormant energy or a spirit that's now spreading throughout the area. Or maybe the area has a portal, I don't know. But there's so many different avenues to take with this, and I'm glad that you wrote to me. I'm glad that you shared your experiences. And if you have any more other dreams that you would like to share with me, definitely don't hesitate to follow up. I would love to dissect it more and think about all the other possibilities. Now, for those of you that are listening, I'm curious, what do you think? I mean, there's so many different things to unpack here, right? But my advice for you, Holly, is that you definitely clean your space, keep track of the activity. There's definitely ways to protect your energy and your space before going to bed. People tend to carry like black tourmaline, obsidian, amethyst. Some people also do like affirmations and set boundaries before going to bed, like imagining a white light before they go to bed and saying, hey, I only want positive dreams, setting the intention. It may not kick off right away, or you may not feel a huge difference right away, but it takes time training yourself to set those boundaries, ground yourself. And when you wake up, do the same thing. Like imagine this white light, imagine your energy being called back to you, and any energy that isn't there, it doesn't belong to you, going back to where it belongs. That's another thing I like to do. Those are very simple things. But again, if you have any other questions, feel free to write to me. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. And that wraps up today's episode. Remember to give me a 5-star review, leave any comments, any questions that you have. And until next time, you guys, stay strange.